where they are, and a piece of me still saying, I want that.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. No, yeah, I understand. I mean, it's like it's kind of, my situation is a little different because me and my partner, we're together, and we've been together for over 4 years now.
Right. I was gonna say almost 5 years, right?
Well, we made 4, I'm going to say, I guess it depends on who you ask.
Right.
But I started mid-May around my birthday. Okay. So I would say we just so you just made about 4 years. Yeah. But as a couple, or rather the way we're seen is, we don't have children. We don't have that whole thing going on. So it's a little different with men. I would say with gay men, it's a little different. So, we can travel together. We do travel together. We do things together. But yet and still, we can, or rather I can still see my friends who are still taking it a step further. And I, in a lot of ways, feel like I have the best of both worlds. Yeah. Because together we love each other, we're in a relationship, but I can travel with my brother or travel alone. We can travel together, so I can still get that whole part of it. The difference is that I can't be slutty, or I don't be as slutty as I was before I got together.
He was like, let me correct that. No, I'm gonna be a slut, but I'm just not gonna be as slutty as I would usually be.
Right, I could be a little tempty and like show a little skin, maybe show a little cleave. I'm doing my little push-ups or whatever. I just want to show a little man chest. I can still do that. I've never begrudged that.
Perky pecs.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I'm as bogged down as, say, my twin brother would be when he and his girlfriend settle down. Like, whatever it is that they decide to do, like, they would be the one that would live that traditional life of being married and eventually having children, but they're kind of like very modern thinking, so they would still travel, and they're black folks who do okay for themselves. But and then on the flip side, beside that, throughout my 20s and even early 30s, I've been on both sides of the spectrum, like I said earlier. And I remember being in my late 20s and early 30s and thinking like, wow, my friends are at that place, because when you are this age, you're supposed to be doing that,
because there's that pressure and that societal stigma or that societal impression that in your 30s you should have all your shit together.
And that's bull. I mean, our parents were different though. In their 30s they were family people, like mothers and fathers with families.
They were families. They were well-established families because, by their 20s, they had already been married for X amount of years. Already started their children.
Yes.
It's like now we are there again. There is this perception that by our 30s we should be, I guess I want to say, like, the equivalent of what yuppies were like in the late 80s. In
the 80s, right, exactly.
Like in your 30s, you should have your house out in, the suburbs, and should have a well-established career, at the very least be in your mid-level in your career. You shouldn't be getting out and having entry-level jobs. Right. You shouldn't be out here dating all the time, because in your 30s, you should be established, and
you should have that regular.
You should have that regular fiance. The fiance, exactly.
Yeah.
You should be approaching fiance, or at the very least be with somebody for an extended period of time, because you want to be serious and you want to settle. And I do appreciate the fact that now that I am single or single again rather, and having been divorced, I get the freedom to kind of like make my own narrative and kind of like create or write my own path in how I want to go about that, right? Like, so again, I'm already in my 30s, so it's kind of like I don't have all the quote unquote things that like society say I should have by my 30s, and because of that, I'm like, well then fuck it, so let me just do whatever the hell I want. So if I want to have sex with him, and him,
why not?
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be people that, and there's always going to be someone that's going to judge you because you're sexually free, but fuck them and who cares,
Exactly.
And that's one thing I will say. I give a shout out to these 4 white bitches, Sex in the City. I give a shout out to them because I feel like when that show came out in the late 90s, it was, and I'm sure that there were others that predated, but we had a pop culture phenomenon, if you will, of a show that highlighted urban single people in their 30s who were about their careers and friendship and navigating dating and sex and being sexual. And that's one thing that I do appreciate about that show, regardless of how I may feel about it or whether it holds up or whatever. You know, all that aside, I feel like it put that narrative out there. So
at the core of it.
Yeah, you know, so you don't have to be 36 if you are a confident person, or 35 or 32 or whatever, or 39, and feel like, oh, I don't have children, I don't have a spouse.
Yeah.
So
you're lacking in some way.
Yeah, or lacking. And if any of your friends try to do that, then they're pieces of shit, because the reality is that most people that I know who are in long-term marriages or have the family, you know, there's always something missing, because it's never gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
And they, in a lot of ways, envy the people who are the couples that are either childless, and or single, because of course there's layers to it. I mean, you can be married and have a spouse, but if you don't have any children, that frees up a lot.
Level, exactly.
Yeah, the moment children come into the equation, everything changes. You have this little human that is all id, no super ego, who needs all of your attention, and you're giving it to that child. That's what a good parent does.
Yes.
There's no more traveling. There's no more being slutty. You have to figure out date nights.
Yes.
You may not even be able to have sex the way you used to if you are a sexual couple.
Yeah.
But the married couple that don't have that child can still do that. Or the single person, like you were saying earlier, can be a total unadulterated whore.
Yeah.
And while you're telling your sex stories about like getting double dicked or like having sex with two women or whatever the thing is, you know, your friend is probably sitting there listening, thinking to herself like, damn, Jimmy hasn't eaten my pussy in well over a year.
I know. Oh,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? And it's like, poor Joe, I'm sorry that Jim didn't eat your pussy in over a year, but now you have 4 children, and that's unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Now, what I will say before I'm done is, I do also know people that they're those, like, I forget, I don't have a name for them yet. I'm going to coin something. But they're those couples that just, they have the big tribe of families, and they still are erotically attracted to each other, and they make it work in those kinds of ways because they both wanted that.
Yes.
And I guess if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, we could be like, oh, well, maybe the couples that don't work are the ones who want the child. And we ain't gonna go there. We have the time. But I feel like if you are single or you're coupled and you don't have children, you have a freedom that those childbearing folks will never, ever have. And if that's what y'all want, childbearing people, I'm not shaming y'all. Have your babies, do it, whatever. But y'all motherfuckers know.
Y'all not getting it in.
Y'all ain't getting it in. And I'm sure, and I know that don't apply for everyone, because whoever's listening who this don't apply to, y'all like, well, me and my wife, we still fuck. Or, and you're like, well, me and my husband, we still fuck at least 3 times a week. Good for y'all. Congrats, because that is not the norm.
That is not the norm.
It is not the norm. But I'm here to tell y'all that Afiya and I'm coupled, childless. Me and the booster have sex every time we're together. Every night. Sometimes twice a night.
Woo!
And Afiya is getting her thing in. So, in regards to the topic,
we'll be getting them appointments.
I'm trying to put them in, right?
I'm trying to get an appointment in tonight.
Work. Don't worry, boo thing. I'm being good. I'm being chased while you're away, because the boo's in Costa Rica for 2 weeks in the yoga Pilates retreat. So I'm behaving myself. But if I weren't, honey, and so yes. But for those of y'all out there who got kids, who have children, and things aren't as fulfilled as they used to be, I'm sorry it happened that way. And I'm sure y'all are envious of your single friends. So single friends, if your married child having friends are shaming you, they just jealous.
You know, and I would like to tap, let me tap dance on that for a little bit.
Tap dance
because,
on it, girl.
You know what? It is true that, like, honestly, thankfully, I haven't experienced that form of aggression from any of my married and career-driven and child rearing friends.
Right. I mean, there's layers to it.
There are layers to it. And I'm thankful for that, because a lot of people could shame me for the mere fact that, one, okay, you were married, now you're divorced, and now you're out here doing your due. People could shame me. I mean, not even people could shame me. I feel like even my own mother, like at this point in time, I think my mother is very much like, well, you're in your 30s. Like, you should be, finding somebody. When are you going to give me grandkids? When are you going to get married? When are you going to do that? All this extra bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Which is really annoying. And I can't stand, and that's why I said I want to tap dance on that. Like, the shaming on the single people, even when you have your shit together, needs to stop.
Yes.
I've had one girl do that to me, and it wasn't really shaming because I was single. It was shaming because, like, I didn't have, I wasn't on my path. I wasn't on a path to a career like she was, because it was like, oh, well, I got this job and I'm on my career path because she went to school for medicine. And so she got a job at a hospital and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, well, I went to school for journalism and I was temping because I couldn't find, regular like editorial work or whatever the case may be. And so she kind of was like shaming me, like, oh, so you're going to temp forever? Like, why would you, And I'm like, listen, my path is my path because now that I think about it and looking back on it, when I wanted to do editorial, like as a younger woman, in my older age, I'm now realizing that maybe journalism isn't something that I want to pursue full time. Now, granted, that in of itself gets shaming because then people look at you like, well, you're so much older now that you're now thinking of a career change and you're now trying to figure out where you want to go.
No, this is good though.
You're in your 30s. Like, you shouldn't be figuring it out. You should have known it by now. And it's like, but shit happens.
Shit happens. And you're still young enough to be able to make that change. And that's
the thing. I'm still young enough to make that change. I'm not in a relationship where me and my partner rely on my current income for me to say I have to stay at this dead-end job. And I'm not in a relationship with the person who wants to have children where it's like, we have to think about how we're going to finance these kids. And thus, I have to stay at a demeaning, miserable job in this relationship where there's so much pressure for me to have money for us to have kids, for me to be stressed out by the kid and the job that I don't want. Fuck out of here. Like, no.
Who wants that?
Who wants that?
No.
And I appreciate the fact that, like, I have the freedom to make these changes right now. And that's why I say I appreciate, the people in my life who aren't shaming me for having that freedom. But those who do shame me, aka mom, like, she just has to get over it. She just doesn't like the fact that, like, I have dudes coming by to
and mothers do that.
That's just all that there is.
Yeah.
Because I have my little dick appointment, so it's like she's just like, oh, well, why? And I'm like, listen, Linda.
You're a grown ass woman, she'll deal.
You know what I mean? Like, listen, you gotta,
you pay rent, she's fine.
And I think, and a lot of it, like you said, goes back to our parents were raised in that mindset.
Yes.
Right? Because my mother was married at the age of like 25. She had her first kid at 27. She had her second kid at 28, or 29. And then she had her last kid at 35, me, aka the accident, because she said she wasn't even trying to have me.
I was an accident too, don't feel bad.
So... And again, her life was set in this kind of way of like she had the husband who was supporting her and the family. Not to say that she wasn't independent on her own, because she was, but still, like, she was of that model. She was of that formulaic, generic reproduction, mass production of what a family should look like type deal. Right. And so I'm going against that norm. Yes. And so there is that juxtaposition, that battle, that, that definite butting of two mentalities and two mindsets that you're not following you're not following the path. You're not following the criteria. Like, get back on track type of thing. And I'm like, I'm not for that. And quite honestly, I want to be more of that sexy single friend, because even though I'm all about being around my married friends and stuff like that, I do acknowledge the fact that my married friends are married and, like, they go on their trips together. And that's why I say, like, I'm quote unquote the boring friend, because they, some of my friends, like, they still kind of some of them, they kind of travel, or they do things. They do little things, activity things. And I don't do more. And I look at it like I should be doing the absolute most. That's me basically saying that I want to come into, like, as an adult, like, I want to come into and totally hone this whole single thing while I do have my friends and my friendships with my married friends and stuff like that, because I have that liberty to do so.
I just want to, I agree 100%, but I'm going to also latch on to something you said. And I thought about this just now as you were saying it. there is something to being a grown-ass single man or woman and making the choice to stay your ass home if you want. And there was a freedom in that, you know, and because as you were saying it, and I thought to myself, I said, well, wait a minute, you know, because I'm all about seeing people and being